Real video jump scare. This isn't something I normally do, but hey, I just had the thought of this idea from my good old friend Coop months ago. Rest in peace, Coop. And I played quite a bit of games this year, a lot more than I usually do, so I thought why not just put them all on the list. So that's about it. Enjoy the video. Starting this list off strong with Dark Souls 1, I actually have a little bit of a history about this game because I legit played it after I finished Elden Ring, which by the way was a terrible idea. Don't ever do this. It's like eating at the most expensive 5-star restaurant and then the next day you're going out to get McDonald's afterwards. The gameplay is very slow and clunky as hell. Graphics are pretty terrible. Bosses? It's like hitting a brick wall over and over again. But even though this game has many flaws, and it still does to this day, I still somewhat enjoyed myself with it. The world building is definitely the best part of this game. Interconnected worlds and shortcuts you can go to after you finish a boss. Like that first time when I defeated the gargoyles and went down the elevator and looped back to Firelink Shrine. You know, that was pretty nice of them. It actually made the world feel all lively and connected rather than more linear approach to the recent games over the years. And it's not like all the bosses are bad, since there's still some gold in this pile of shit. Like Knight Artorias, Ornstein and Smo, and even Manus was kind of fun. But let's get to the good stuff now. How is it like to fully complete this game? Well, it's a little complicated, to be honest. The most important thing is getting all the spells, weapons, pyromancies, miracles, and etc. Which, to be fair, does take a little bit of grinding, especially some of these weapons and spells being locked behind farming and covenants, which I personally didn't find too tedious, thankfully. There's the 2 endings, which are pretty easy to get since they don't require a long and convoluted ass quest line to complete. But overall, it is a decent game with a good bit of replay value if you're into that sort of thing. Halo 3. The peak of Halo, as people say all the time, but I personally didn't play it back then because I was broke as fuck. But thankfully, nowadays, we have such thing as Xbox Game Pass. And I decided to play this one with one of my friends just for a laugh. I would talk about how the game plays, but I think these clips will do all the talking for me. Oh, yeah.
No?
Oh, what the
Oh my god! John! We gotta avenge John. We gotta move. Oh no.
Arthur,
Oh.
we need to flip the car over.
Flip the car!
Oh my god, dude, move. Everything's going down. What the fuck was that?
Get! This thing is mad fast!
Dude. Come on. There's also like a turret on your right.
Nah, I don't care about that.
What the? What just happened to you?
Bro, he just pushed me. Bat!
What the fuck are you doing?
I know we'll get it done.
Clip that!
No fucking shot. You just did that.
Whoa. Oh my god!
You just got run over again.
No!
Oh, get that tank.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't know! Flip it over! Get on!
Alright. Well, it's hard to
I don't even know what the hell that was. Again!
You got anti-air raid. well, we are returning to Monkey with this one, boys. Black Myth Wukong. A single player game that pretty much just took over Steam for like a week. 2.2 million concurrent players in the span of a couple days at release is nothing to sniff at, and while yes, most of these are Chinese players, that doesn't mean the rest of the world didn't hype themselves up too. Hell, when I saw the trailers, I was like, damn, this shit looks cool as hell. And what do you know? I bought the game on day one, but I don't regret it. The game is just fun. It starts off pretty simple, but once you progress later on, you can just mess around with your enemies, to be honest. Just like Sun Wukong. And the game pretty much is just a boss rush simulator. For some people that's really annoying, but for me, that's all I can ask for. Since most of these type of games I really just play for the bosses, and the story and the levels are just secondary. The fact that around every corner there's just some big ass motherfucker that you can just fight on a whim is amazing, to be honest. But we can't forget the main appeal of this game, the graphics. Oh boy, even on low settings, this game looks fucking amazing. The aesthetic is top notch, and the cutscenes are just peak cinema.
华府六八百里，曾是关外富饶地。一朝蜀汉平空起，无夜瘴气渺壤起。
Now let's talk about 100%ing this game. Unlike other games where they literally tell you what to do, this game achievements are like a riddle or poem, which is pretty unique. But in baboon terms, most of them are just either defeating bosses, collecting all the collectibles, or doing certain side quests. It took me about 56 hours to fully complete this game, which I would find to be pretty good. It's not too long for it to be a goddamn chore, but it's also not too short. Nine Souls. I've heard a lot of praise when this came out, especially it being labeled as a Sekiro-like game with deflection-based combat, which if you know me, that shit is fucking goated. But I never really looked into the game up until a bit recently, where I fully completed it a couple of weeks ago. But they were right, this game slaps pretty damn hard. The parry mechanic alongside the talismans that make you strap a goddamn C4 bomb onto an enemy is pretty badass to say the least. And obviously the bosses in this game are really the main star of the show, which are probably some of the best 2D bosses out there, with some insane ass movesets and really satisfying parry timings. While I praise the combat for being pretty fluid and satisfying, the story for me was alright at best. Unlike every other Souls-like game, this game's approach to storytelling is more direct, with a lot of dialogue options from each character, and even the bosses.
She kinda bad though.
This isn't too bad, but I personally didn't really care much up until my second playthrough, where things started to make a lot more sense to me. But with that, 100% is pretty tame compared to the other entries on this list. There's just standard endings, collectibles, and a side quest you gotta do, but it shouldn't take you more than about 40 to 50 hours, which for a game priced at $30 is a pretty fair bit of content to sink your teeth into. And with updates coming along the way with the console release, and also rumored update that there will be a boss rush mode, which I'm honestly really looking forward to. I think most, if not all, Souls-like games should have a boss rush mode by default, because it really doesn't ruin the experience. If people want to play the bosses, they'll play the bosses. If they can play the story, you know, they'll play the story, but me personally, I'm in it for the bosses, baby. But yeah, this game legit came out of nowhere, and is for sure my indie game of 2024. Now, if you can please avenge Pizza Tower at the Game Awards, Nine Souls, I would humbly appreciate that.
Cocoon! Son of a bitch!
Well, what do you know? Another third installment of a game franchise that people seem to praise the shit ton about online. But I'll give them credit where credit is due. This game is actually pretty damn good. Bosses are fast but feel fair, and the game feels like a perfect link that doesn't get dragged out. It's really just the peak of Dark Souls at this point, and Miyazaki cooked hard with this, especially the DLC bosses. But honestly, you already know that by now. Now this game seems pretty much perfect in most ways, and while I do agree, it is definitely the best Souls game to start off with, there is just one thing that this game did really poorly on, and that's the goddamn achievements, man. If you want to just play this game and get all the 3 endings, that'll likely take you about 30 to 35 hours, which is not so bad. But if you want to get all the achievements, that means collecting every ring, every spell, every gesture, every gem infusion, and so on and so forth. You literally have to play the game 4 goddamn times just to get everything. And not only that, but some achievements are locked behind some grindy ass covenants in which you'll have to farm the same enemy for about 2 to 4 hours for each of them, which gets really fucking monotonous. This grinding alone can increase your playtime to about 30 plus hours or so, which is just as long as playing the game normally. Miyazaki was goddamn cooking with the gameplay and level design, but holy fuck, he overcooked on the achievements. Do yourself a favor and stay away from 100%ing this game. It will change your life. Lies of P. Where do I even start with this game? Other than saying this might have some of the best combat I've played in a while. The concept of just parrying attacks and using those parries to stagger enemies is honestly something that should be in a lot more games. Hell, even the sounds of the perfect parries are just music to my ears. It's not just the parries that are good. This game has a pretty unique concept of just building your own weapons, which I find very interesting to use. There's so many goddamn OP combos that you can just break the game with, and I love it. With all this being said, you can tell from the atmosphere in combat, they pretty much got heavily inspired by Bloodborne, which is a PlayStation exclusive that will probably never get a remaster or PC port. And to be honest, this game is basically just a modern day Bloodborne, which you know, I'm not complaining about at all. If Sony ain't gonna release a fucking PC port anytime soon, then the fans most likely will. Now for the achievements. They are pretty standard for a Souls game. You got 3 endings, collectibles, some NPC side quests, and a sort of secret boss as well. You can get the 100% in like 3 playthroughs, but I unfortunately had to do a 4th one because I fucked up the first time and accidentally chose the bad ending, which wasn't the end of the world, but you know, it was a little annoying. In the next playthrough, I did make sure to actually get the good ending, but to do that, you have to defeat the nameless puppet, which kicked my ass multiple times and took me about 3 to 4 hours to beat. Oh! Oh! Oh shit! Wait, please! Get him! Get his ass! Yeah! Fuck you, bitch! Oh my god! Oh! Yes! But in the end, he actually did become my favorite fight in the entire game, so what do you know? But enough of that. If you haven't played this game, well, then go play it. It goes on sale pretty much every month on Steam for about like 40% off. And it's free if you have the Xbox Game Pass. So there's pretty much no excuse at this point. Just go play the goddamn game. Ah yes, Sekiro. The game that is so hard at the start, and it makes any man think to themselves, am I even good at video games? I won't even lie. When I first got the game, I thought life was a breeze. Killed the first main boss on like my 4th attempt. Blazing Bolt wasn't that bad, but then I got to this Harada Estate area, which, you know, wasn't that bad still, but I found this Humpty Dumpty looking ass motherfucker and got my shit kicked in for about 3 hours. It was so bad I had to resort to some backstab cheese. Being completely real with you, I was almost tempted to quit after all that. But something in my brain was telling me to just keep going, and I did. I went to go fight the main boss, Genichiro. Still got my shit kicked in, but this was different. I was playing the game wrong the whole time. I tried to play this game like Sekiro, but in the end, I needed to play this game like it was Osu.
Stop the cap.
Oh, okay, hear me out. When fighting enemies in this game, there's a certain pattern you have to follow. Usually you have to hit them twice and start blocking, because in the second hit, it would actually deflect your attack, and then they'll be on the offensive while you're going to be on the defensive side. And if you use this one simple trick in the game goes from being as hard as balls to being pretty fun and satisfying. There's a couple of bosses that are an exception to this, but most of the time, you have to find the deflect pattern and you'll pretty much breeze your way through the end game. And by the end of it, you'll be a Sekiro master, and a masterpiece of a game that pretty much gave birth to the parry genre of Soulslikes. But enough yapping. What's 100% like? Well, thankfully this game's 100% is probably the easiest 100% out of any From Software game. Which is ironic, because this is one of the hardest Souls games out there. You got your basic 3 endings, or 3.5, because one of them cuts off midway through the game. All craftable achievements, all bosses, all skills, which is really the only grindy achievement out there. But if you have a really good farming strat, this should only take you about 2 hours or so. But to be honest, this game fucking slaps. And if you haven't played it already, then I don't blame you, because this game is really fucking punishing. But if you can stick with it like a man, then this will be one of the best games you'll ever play, period. And with that, we come to the #1 spot. But before that, I might as well talk about some games that didn't make it onto the list. Starting with Cult of the Lamb. I played this game around February of this year, and while I did enjoy my time with it, I honestly got pretty bored of it after I got all the achievements. I had no reason to play this game again, because the combat was just really generic. The village part, while it can be fun, is just alright at best. And I did like the art and aesthetic to the game, but if I'm being honest, that's really it. RoboQuest is a really fun roguelike shooter about robots saving the world, and I did like the gunplay and movement of this game, but the reason it didn't make it onto the list was because the level and enemy variety was just very lacking. Enemies just kind of stand there and do nothing for the first 3 levels. And by the end of the game, they kind of just swarm you with literally everything. And also after about the 3rd run or so, this game gets really repetitive. I did play this game with a friend to make it a little better, but even he was kind of bored of it after about 10 or so hours. Lastly, we have Neon White, which unlike the other two, I'd had fun with this one. And just like Cult of the Lamb, I even got the 100% for it. But the only reason I don't have it on the actual list is because after I got the last 2 achievements, which by the way took me about 9 hours in total, I kind of just never looked at the game again, which is sad because the first like 10 hours or so were pretty damn fun. Yeah, it's Elden Ring. Like, come on, did you really think it was gonna be anything else? I won't bore you with a 50-page long essay on why this game is a goddamn masterpiece, since there's already a dozen of those videos out on YouTube, so I'll make this short and sweet. For starters, this is the game that pretty much got me into the Souls-like genre in the first place, and I will always appreciate the game for opening up a genre that I'd never thought I'd touch in a million years, to be honest. If you don't know what the game is, well, you're probably living under a rock at this point.
Who are you?
The most successful Souls-like game out there that sold over 25 million copies, and even got the worst gamer of all time into Souls-like games, which is a massive fucking achievement right there. Also, how can we forget about the DLC that dropped this year? 40 hours of content just packed into a big ass map with the craziest bosses I've ever seen in any video game ever. We got Mesmer the Impaler, Midra Lord of Frenzied Flame,
Curse you, Bale!
the Sunflower from Garden Warfare, and the big bad himself, Promised Consort Radon, who definitely didn't take me like 4 hours to beat, by the way. Oh my god! Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the achievements. You know how I said Sekiro is the easiest from software game to 100%? Yeah, I lied about that. Elden Ring is pretty much the easiest one. No grindy ass Covenant achievements, thank fucking god. It's pretty much just killing bosses, collectibles, like legendary collectibles, which are a lot easier to get than the other games, and the 3 endings, which should mass up to about 80 or so hours, and it does sound like a lot. But this is like one big ass game, so I think it has an excuse there. So yeah, that is my top games of 2024 list. If you want a tier list format of them, well, here we go. And yeah, you can tell that half the list is literally just Souls-like games. But what can I say? I'm on my Souls-like arc, as people like to call it. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys whenever I upload again, which probably won't be until a month or so, to be honest.